Hello, I'm Denise Galoni. Welcome to today's episode of Empowering You. My guests today are Tanya Basher. She's an accredited somatic trauma informed coach and narcissistic abuse specialist. She's the founder and owner of Impart Clarity. Joining her is Melissa Gallarducci Hancock. She's a professional certified divorce and transition coach, the owner and founder of I Do, I Did, I'm Done. And together, these ladies started a podcast called Untying Knots. I know they're going to pass on some important information to help inspire and empower you. I have two fabulous women on my show today. Tanya Basher, who is an accredited somatic trauma informed coach and narcissistic abuse specialist. She is also the owner and founder of Impart Clarity. Also, Melissa Gallarducci Hancock, who's a professional certified divorce, transition, and recovery coach, owner and founder of I Do, I Did, I'm Done. So I am so excited to have you fabulous ladies on today. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So Tanya, let's start with you first.
Sure.
So an accredited somatic trauma informed coach, what does that mean?
It means that I did a 12-month certification program, and I eventually ended up with a certification as a trauma-informed coach. Trauma-informed just means that a lot of my training was based on how to respond to somebody that's been through something traumatic. Along with that, the word somatic means in your body. And so a lot of people don't realize that when you've been through traumatic things, that it actually impacts your body, a physical reaction in your body. So the training combined those two things. And then the last part that you described, the narcissistic abuse specialist, was the training that I did around narcissistic abuse in order to be able to be the coach that I am today.
And how long have you had your business, Impart Clarity?
This is my second year. I'll be going into my third year next year. Yep.
So I've known you for a long time. You and I go way back.
We
It's
sure
another
do.
life, practically.
Yeah, a whole other life.
Whole other life. We don't need to talk about whole other life. So what made you go for these certifications and start Impart Clarity?
A really
I know
great
for a while
question.
you were doing some other things. You had some other businesses going.
I did. So a few years back, I actually won a competition, and I launched a business called Gypsy Artistry, where I was doing crafts in restaurants. Right before the pandemic came, it must have been a God thing, because I closed it in December 2019. And of course, we all know what happened in 2020.
Right.
And I really enjoyed the aspect of the business of getting women together, but I didn't enjoy the craft part of it. For me, it was about getting women together, having that community. I think we've kind of lost that in this era, where we, get our friends together and we just sit down and have a cup of tea and we chat. And so Gypsy Artistry was a lot of bringing women together. The craft part of it I didn't like. So in 2020, during the pandemic, I actually, in 2019, I worked with a coach in San Diego and in California. I did a 12-month program with her called Perfect Health Mastery. And it wasn't just about, losing weight or anything like that. It was about holistically, what do you want your life to look like? So that was the impetus for me getting started on this journey. And then in 2020, I worked with a high performance coach for 3 months during the pandemic, and we really honed in on what I was passionate about, which is helping other women. So I had a 22-year-long relationship, which was really toxic. And I really came out of that a former shell of who I used to be. And I think it really knocked my self-confidence. It knocked my self-esteem. It made me question, like, what the hell is wrong with me? Even though there really isn't anything wrong with me.
Right,
But
right.
I was asking myself that. And so as I went through this 3 months coaching with this high performance coach, she had mentioned to me that she had trained with Caroline Strawson, who is huge in England, funnily enough, which is where I'm from, and that Caroline had this coaching program where she was going to be training people to become narcissistic abuse specialists. I'm like, I have to do this. And so I did that 12-month training program the entire year of 2021. And I healed simultaneously while I was learning all of this. And then I launched my business at the end of 21.
Okay. That's great. I know this is really your passion. Like you
It
said,
is my
gypsy
passion.
artistry was fun, but this is really your passion. I can tell because you light up when you talk about it.
Yeah, it is definitely my passion because, you know, what I went through, I don't ever wish on anybody. But knowing now what I know, I can help so many other women who are in that situation understand why it's happening to them, that it is not their fault. More importantly, how to heal from that so that they can really live the rest of their life happy and not have that be, you know, the victim status and that be the thing that like defines who they are. Yeah, it happened to me. It wasn't pleasant, but I can heal from that and now I can move forward. And that's really what lights me up.
Yeah, definitely. So let's jump over to Melissa for a
Sure.
moment. So Melissa, the audience may remember you because you were on my show. I can't believe it was last year.
Yeah, I think at
But
least.
talking about your other business, roofing business.
Yes.
But now you launched your own business. And
Yes.
that's been, how long has it been since you've launched this business?
I started it at the end of last year. So it's taken me, well, yeah, at the end of last year. So as I've gone through, I actually went back to school for it and everything and got my certification. And now it's, you know, in full swing at this point, but it's taken me some time just to unfold it. And I wanted to do it the right way. You know what I mean? Like get it out there, do my launch party and everything like that, get my website up and running. So yes. And thank God for all like the wonderful people we have in our groups that have helped us with doing all that we do as well. That's been such a blessing.
The launch party was a lot of fun.
Thanks. I know.
It really was.
We both were
It was
there.
a lot of launch party was a lot of fun. I will see if I could find some pictures we could add them here because that was a lot of fun. The launch
I
party.
just paid it off actually.
So Melissa, what made you decide to get this certification to be a professional certified divorce and transition coach?
Well, I've always said for years, people have always come to me for help and I never got paid for it. So I said, well, now, you know, going through the experience that I have, I was married 20 years. I have 2 kids and my divorce, when my divorce wasn't over, it really wasn't over. We're 6 years into it being after, and I'm literally going through a custody battle with a 16-year-old with my ex because of the, you know, the complications and the issues. And because I never had anybody to help guide me through it, I'm still going through complications. If I had somebody that had helped me through it and given me the steps and the tools that I needed, besides my attorney, you know, because that's usually the only one you have to count on,
Right.
and they're expensive. So I thought somebody's got to be out there to help. And so I actually thought I created this whole concept. And then I found out that there are others out there that do this. And I found a school, went back to school, and I think I'm the only one here in Pittsburgh. People still are not sure what I do yet. So there's a whole, you know, definition of what I do. But the main thing is I'm helping you get through your divorce before, during, after, so that, you know, you're surviving. So the survival mode is gone and you're going into that thriving mode.
So you're talking about the attorneys. So the attorneys are more legal. Let's get this done. So you're more on the emotional side, getting someone through this for support. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I help them with, you know, getting the things ready for the attorneys, but I'm the one that's going to kick you in the butt to get you motivated to, you know, figure out what it is you want. Once we figure out what you want, then we're going to figure out how to get you there. And then we're going to figure out how to get you the resources for it. And then that way you're not just kind of, you know, you're stuck in this traumatic moment where you don't know whether you were the initiator or other initiated it. You're in shock. You don't know what's happening. You don't know how to explain it to the kids. Next thing you know, you have to sell the house. Next thing you know, you have to you know, figure out what you're going to do if you were working part-time and now have to go full-time. It is a long process, and the emotional scars that you have from that are hard. So if somebody can hold your hand and help you, that's what I want to be able to do.
Okay. So how did you come up with the name? I did, I'm done.
Well, I mean, it's pretty, I literally, you know, I do, I got married. I said, I do.
Right.
I felt like I was, you know, doing a lot, and I kept saying, I did, you know, did you try this? I did. Did you try counseling? I did. Did you try to get him help? I did. And, that wasn't working. And then I just finally said, I'm done.
Right.
So I just said, I did, I'm done. And I'm actually in the process of trying to get the name trademarked because it's catchy, but it's also exactly how people feel when they go through it.
And Tanya, let me circle back to you because I didn't ask you, how did you come up with the name Impart Clarity?
Yeah, so impart means to be able to give to somebody, right? And clarity is just seeing things more clearly. And that is really what my goal is. I want to be able to help you see things more clearly, understand what happened to you and why. But more importantly, I want you to be able to impart clarity on your own life and be able to impart that clarity onto your kids, your family, your relatives. So that was how that name came about.
That's awesome. 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 People are so creative. So the reason why you two are together on this
Yep.
show is because you've known each other for years as well. You've
Yep.
all known each other for a long time. And you found that although you have separate businesses, they do kind of interact together, don't they? And
Yeah. We've been talking about putting something together, I think, since the day we met. Like,
We have.
because we both had that creativity and that drive to do something and to help people. And we had to go through our trials and tribulations over the years for it to come full circle, to create Untying Knots. And that's such a pivotal name as you're going through this, because all the knots that we created, when you get married and forming this knot and then you're untying it. And the big thing about it is, we know that it doesn't just affect you or your kids, it affects your in-laws, your outlaws, your extended family and your friends. So doing the show, we want to be able to touch on all of those different aspects to help, not just in the divorce process, but also the trauma that's happening from it and the people that it affects around you.
so Untying Knots is your new podcast.
Yep.
And you have a few episodes under your belt, right? It's fairly new.
Yes, it's me doing the editing, so it's a work in progress and it's a learning curve.
Yeah,
Everything's a learning curve.
we have about 5 episodes recorded at this point, and the full title of the podcast is Untying Knots: Navigating Divorce and Healing Trauma. And so you can see that, with Melissa's background in the divorce coaching and then my background in all of the trauma recovery stuff, we make a perfect couple. And so we're like, let's do this, let's make this happen. So the podcast is really about talking about going through the divorce and what can you do to really make sure it's the best outcome.
Right.
And then, tackling those things that come up emotionally as we're going through that and after that.
So what is the mission with the podcast? So you want to reach women to tell them that they're not alone, or offer some suggestions or assistance, or what's the goal of the podcast?
It isn't just for women, it's for everybody. Yeah.
Right.
It's for everybody that's going through a divorce, thinking about going through a divorce. And you could be listening to this, really okay marriage, nothing terrible wrong. Maybe you're thinking about getting divorced because you're not really happy. And this will help you decide whether or not that's the right thing for you. And it'll also help you understand, if you do decide to do that, what's the best way to go about that? And we want to bring on guests from all different areas that can speak to all different kinds of topics.
So it's more educational.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I was just going to say that my background is education. So
Right.
I'm by day, I'm a developmental therapist with intervention. So I work with kids with delays and special needs in home, and I do it in West Virginia. I have done it in Allegheny County and Washington County for, oh gosh, I'm going on like 25 years from this whole education and working with kids. So I was taking what I know about the development and helping the families, and then realizing as I've gone through the divorce part, how it impacted my family. And so the development, working with co-parenting, that's one of our other big things, is helping people come up with a co-parenting plan. God, if I had one, like if we had one, you have to have 2 people get on board with co-parenting. That's the big thing that, I try to put right in the forefront, because if you don't, then you've got 2 parents going in 2 different directions.
Right.
And then now you're back to trauma. It's traumatic for the kids, it's traumatic for you, and you're just constantly just spinning your wheel trying to get things moving in the right direction, and somebody else is taking you completely backwards. So this, the background that I have and bringing it to to what I do is like my most, that's like where my heart is, working with kids. But then it just kind of was natural when I fell into this. And then Tanya and me, we've had some serious brainstorming sessions on
Mhm.
how to go about this and what to do. And we want to make sure, we even want to bring kids, older kids that have gone through the trauma of having their parents divorced and what they've had experienced, because that really leads a whole life of, like what direction they're going to go in as they get
Right,
married and they find relationships.
right. Yeah, definitely. So Tanya, with your business, what would you say, or what would you say to someone that's going through some trauma right now? Maybe they're in a narcissistic relationship.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone that may be watching this and thinking, I don't know, I could probably do it myself, or no one else is going through this like I have. No one else
Mhm.
understands this. What
Yeah.
would you just say to those people?
First of all, I'd like to say that I've been in your shoes, so I absolutely do understand. I mean, Denise, you've known me for a long time. I
I
left
have.
my husband 4 times over 22 years. And finally, the fourth time, I said, that's it, I'm done. I
Yeah.
could have used Melissa back then.
Yeah.
So I've been there. I believe you. I know what you've been through. A lot of the things that happen behind closed doors, people who are not in those types of relationships have zero idea about. And so I've been in your shoes. I totally understand where you're coming from. I believe you. I can support you. Together, we can heal those wounds that are really deep and get you back to who you used to be.
Yeah. And I don't know, but are there maybe friends or someone's in this position, like try to downplay a little bit, like, oh, no relationship's perfect. Don't worry,
Yes.
it's nothing's perfect. You're expecting too much. Does that happen sometimes in
It
these
happens a
situations?
lot. You get gaslit by your friends. Oh my
Right,
gosh, he's really nice when we're around him. He's fun. He's the fun of the life of the party. He's fun. He's happy-go-lucky. What is wrong with you? It can't possibly be that bad, right? So yeah, a lot of gaslighting goes on, and it's intention. It's not intentional. Your friends are
right,
trying to be supportive and say, "Oh,
right,
it
right.
probably isn't as bad as you think. He probably doesn't mean it when he says that." Yeah, he does. He
Mi-
does.
Mine was a police officer, so nobody believed me. Everybody believed him.
Uh-huh.
And so, now it's finally coming full circle where things are starting to be uncovered and realizing it, and my children are starting to realize it more and more. And that's the thing, the especially during COVID, the people who are hurting the most are your neighbors that live in beautiful houses and have well-behaved children, and but they're hiding in their rooms crying because they don't know what to do, whether it be men or women. And then if you add on the abusive aspect to it,
Yeah.
um, that's the other thing we deal with is abuse. You've got your physical abuse, the mental abuse, financial abuse, the verbal abuse. Those all play a big part. And the funny thing is people don't even realize what abuse is, because when you're living in it, you
Mhm.
don't you don't realize it. I didn't realize it.
It
And
becomes normal,
it,
doesn't it?
it
Yeah.
is, it becomes your life,
Mhm.
and you're always making excuses, and you're always trying to, figure out how to get to the next situation, and then the next fight comes, and it gets, you know, it's always something, and you just are trying to live your life, and you're thinking, oh, my parents used to fight, oh, this is everybody's, goes through periods of being unhappy. Yes, that's true. But if you have two people that want to work on it together, that's great. But if you want to constantly fight and argue about it, I always say, like, if I know I'm right, I'm gonna argue, and everybody will say I think I'm right all the time, but sometimes I am. But when you start to have those arguments, that's the thing. You start to live, like, when you're living with a narcissist, you start to think you are the narcissist, because you're now having to fight the battle with them, so you're trying to learn how to handle it. And it's just it's so deep, and people don't understand it, especially friends, but we do. Like, that's what we want to say. We understand it, we lived it, and we just want to help you get your life back together, because that's the greatest joy for us is, having somebody say thank you so much for understanding and letting me tell my story.
And there has to be some guilt, like, "What am I doing to my family?"
Yep.
And maybe even some shame, like, "Did I bring this on myself?" I mean, that has
Yes.
to come into play at some point. Tanya, doesn't it?
It does. A lot of guilt and shame is carried when you make the decision to leave, even if it is an abusive relationship and you are the one to cause it and to cause the divorce because you're just like, I can't do this anymore.
Mhm.
Along with that comes guilt and shame. You're breaking up your family, your children are affected by this, your whole family, your friends, everybody.
Friends,
And
everybody.
your
Yeah.
friends have to choose which side they want to go on and all of that craziness. But the reason I think Melissa and I both do what we do and why we really wanted to do the podcast is because there is something called post-traumatic growth, meaning that when you go through something, you can actually be much stronger because of what you've been through. And you can come out the other side a better version of yourself than you were before you even went into the mess that you got into. And
Right.
so, we want to have that as an encouragement to everybody that's listening, because it is possible. I'm proof of that. I'm living in a really great relationship now. I catch myself even going back into, the cycle that I used to be in a former relationship. Now I'm able to stop myself in my tracks and say, okay, this is not who you were married to before. This is a different person. He doesn't mean it the way that you're taking it on.
Mhm.
Stop making this into something that it isn't. Stop you in your tracks. And we teach those tools.
Yeah.
Right.
And we want to empower you, which has
Exactly.
to do with your show because
Right.
Empowering you for sure. Yeah.
yeah, that's a big thing is empowering
Mm.
person that we come up against so that they can take the tools that we're giving them and be able to fight their own battles as they go and make it so that they're not just because you were married to one or were in a relationship with another doesn't mean they're all like that.
Right.
So let's stop. And people think because I'm a divorce coach, they think I'm trying to break up marriages. And I'm like, no, I actually keep marriages together too. You know what I mean? So,
Sure.
and I'm not a therapist, there's a difference. There's the coaching aspect. They're actually trying to get the coaching, part changed in our field because it kind of downplays what we really do, but we're even recognized by the American Bar Association as being a part of the legal
Mm.
team. But
Yeah.
we're not allowed to like sit at the table yet because
Sure. Sure.
you know what I mean? Like they just don't have that in place. And our community of coaches is definitely working on that.
And you ladies are living proof of how you can come through adversity and be happy, get
Yep.
through everything, no matter what it is, and get through everything, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Melissa, any final words?
I think another thing about a lot of this is, there's a religious aspect. People don't think that they should get divorced because of religion. And I went to South Hills Assembly in Bethel my whole life and Christian school in Bethel Park. That was a big hurdle to get over
Sure.
because you think that's going to happen. I'm actually getting a lot of calls from people from different, they're here, but they're have different nationalities. So they're coming, they have like an Indian background. They have the different backgrounds that especially their culture and their family,
Mhm.
they don't, agree with it. And those men and women are starting to see the light and they're coming to me and it's been pretty fascinating because I'm learning about their culture. So
Right.
it's anybody. It really is. It is anybody nowadays that's going through this. It is not, and we talk about it. It's not divorce is not a curse word.
No,
It
no.
is an everyday life situation.
Tanya, any final words?
Yeah, so for 2024, one of the things that Melissa and I are working on is having an actual live divorce and trauma recovery session that you can actually go to locally. So we'll be forming that. So keep an eye on our Facebook page and on our websites as well for that. That will be coming up in 2024. Thank you so much for having us, Janice.
Oh, thank you to ladies both for being here. Your stories are empowering, inspiring, and there could be someone out there watching and thinks, "Oh my gosh, no one understands what I'm going through."
Yeah,
And you've both been there.
we
Yes.
sure have.
Like to talk about it. A lot of people don't. We do.
Yeah, we do all the time.
And you're even a sounding board for someone. They're not sure what to do. They
Yeah.
can contact you and talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you both for being here. Thank you for watching today's episode of Empowering You. I would like to thank my guests, Tanya Basher and Melissa Galaducci Hancock. They're trying to shine the light and take out the shame of divorce and trauma to be able to help you empower yourself to live your best life. I hope you found their information valuable, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.